Well, let's go get started here. We've got a couple things to go through. Make sure I'm clicking this. For folks who are brand new, we're advisor and education organization here. Quite excited about all the generative AI flavors, particularly ChatGPT. We really focus on practical use cases with strong ROI. We don't do, not that important, but we don't focus on ethics and some of the other deep technical issues. We continue to find our group on these calls are about half business and half technical, which is great in both sides for a whole bunch of reasons here. So glad to see repeat. Part of our learning exercise is this learning lab. We used to call it a jam, but learning lab, which continues to be really important, at least for me, and I continue to get great feedback because things are changing so quickly. We've got a newsletter if you haven't seen it. Do a lot of workshops. We connect a lot of people, and we believe strongly in community. So reach out to me, and we have done a lot of connecting, and it's been just warms my heart to see the connecting that's going in this small group. And I know we've got 40 or 50 here. Some of these times we've got 150, 160, and I think it'll continue to grow on these virtual meetings here. I'll just plow through some other stuff. People haven't seen it. We've got 15 case studies on the YouTube. We are finally getting our act together and putting these recordings up. So after tonight's, we'll get it up, and then probably next 12 hours. So we've got a lot of people from overseas and others who've been asking for it. This Wednesday, I'm working with Alex from Sweden. He's done some fabulous work on ChatGPT Midjourney, specifically around marketing. So this is a free LinkedIn event. I'll put all these linked in here, but it's 11 o'clock Eastern. We've got a whole bunch of events here. I'm going to just go through quickly. Our networking is called AI Woodstock. We've got one company will be in New York next week and a half, and Boston. These are free, great working networking events. Is Rosemary, are you on by chance? Let's see her. She is one of the early adopters. She's been in doing small business B2B marketing for 15, 20 years. Real big early adopter of these technologies, and really pulled together a lot of good stuff on plugins. We're going to touch on plugins tonight, but she's got a class that she and I are going to walk through online for free on June 6th or June 13th. For folks in Boston, this is an in-person event. It's an all-day event focused just on intersection of AI and clean tech. A lot of executives are coming here. This is a paid event. I think it's $4.95. I'm doing I think it's an hour, 45-minute or an hour ChatGPT overview, and then, quote, hackathon, where we're getting people to actually use ChatGPT to come up with ideas on how it can actually be used for accelerating decarbonization. For folks in Boston, or people want to come to Boston here, this is yet another fabulous AI conference that John Warner's pulled together here. It's all day, the 27th. It's at Microsoft's or MIT's CSAIL. It's their premier computer science AI lab. I think it's 1,500 or 1,700 folks belong to that. This is free, but you do need to apply. So apply up there. He works to get a real constellation of experiences in large companies and students. I think his last one, he had like 5,000 or 6,000 people apply for 600 slots, but it's well worth applying and trying to get in, because it's just fabulous. He does a great job networking with everyone. We're in the early stages of a generative AI world conference in September in Boston. This will be a 2-day conference, 400 attendees, 30 speakers, at least 20 exhibitors, and really focused on practical use cases for the enterprise. People haven't seen the Flawless AI. I'll put the link into it. This is well worth looking at. It's transforming part of video production, and it's a great example of creating radically new revenue streams and radically reducing cost and time in a way that's really transformative in that industry. Runway ML is another one that's doing great stuff there. So let me, I want to, actually, no, let me hold on that, and then let me turn it over to John. So let's do an audible here. Sure. And I want to switch to John. And John, you want to go through some of the thought pieces you have? And
Yeah, sure,
Be able to
sure.
present if you want. Yeah.
Yeah, let me just open this bad boy up. Yeah, first of all, thanks. One of the things, so in my career, I studied a lot like knowledge work and its implications for the automation of knowledge work and so forth. And we started to look at, okay, what could this mean? How should we think about, this whole effort in terms of generative AI, and like how would a business person think about what's going to be the return on capital and so forth. And let me just start first with the fundamental thing as we got into the problem was, hey, what is the definition of work and who's going to be hit the most, right? If we get super practical and we say, how do we think about this in a way so that we know who's going to get most affected by generative AI? Because there's a lot we don't know. So let me just throw a quick graphic up here. So this is something, Paul and I have been working on. So can you guys see that in terms of impact of AI leveraged and
John, we don't see your screen
transformed?
yet. It's
Okay.
still,
Here we go. How's that?
oh yeah, now we see it. Thank you.
Okay, great. So what I want you to think about for a minute is how do we describe work in a way that people can understand simply, and then relationship to generative AI. And so we've come up with this idea that if you think about work, any work that has to do with words, images, numbers, or sounds, and we'll call it WINS work, that's going to be massively affected by generative AI. And it's not knowledge work, because heart surgery is knowledge work, but it's not WINS work. Know what I mean? So if you create value by manipulating words, images, numbers, and sounds, then it's going to be transformative to your work. And you see this now in Hollywood, you see this in consulting firms and so forth. And then in terms of a contingent model, which is an easy way to think about complicated things, on the top dimension here, you've got percentage of the cost base of your firm that's developed in WINS work. And then on the vertical axis is the level of digitization of that work. So if the work is highly digitized, it's available in digital form, and the tools you use are digital tools. And oh, by the way, a lot of your cost base is WINS work. We think that those businesses are going to be fundamentally transformed. And I'll give examples in a minute. Let's say that you're not in those kinds of businesses, that you're just leveraging it for things like marketing or training or things like that. You can be leveraged. Then there are other businesses that have high, WINS components, but they're not digitized, and we call them latent, because somebody could come in and digitize some of the functions and either take it to leverage or transformed. And then you have ones we call sheltered, that the core business seems safe. Okay, everybody with me so far? Any quick questions on that? So we're creating a new category called WINS work. Okay, all right, let me go to the next thing here. Let me go to the next illustration I want to give. So what are some examples? Can everybody see that? You see agriculture, delivery, retail?
Not yet.
Okay, let me go ahead and reshare here. Okay, so back to the meeting. Sorry. Let me. Okay, let me do that. So, okay, let me close that. Let me open this. Back here, share. Sorry, screen share. This thing. Okay, can people see that now?
We can see the industries.
Okay, sorry about the delay. So just to make it more concrete, what are examples of transformed industries? Entertainment, software, professional services, insurance. It's all WINS work. If you just go do a simple exercise, go down the profit and loss statement, revenue, cost. You say, is that cost item WINS work or not? The answer is pretty much 100% or close. Okay. What are some leverage examples? Agriculture. Agriculture, they do a tremendous amount in terms of precision farming. If John, some of the folks over at John Deere, there's a big battle now on data at the field level between folks like Land O'Lakes. It's a $17 billion cooperative, and John Deere as to who's going to have that data layer, right? But you still, if you take the P&L of agriculture, still information is important, but it's not the majority of the cost base. But you can leverage the other assets by having, or let's say United Rental Service, they tag their assets and so forth. What are some latent things? Hospitals, acute care in particular. Not the digital front door is not very good. Tracking's not very good. Follow-up's not very good, not very integrated, right? So the huge percentage of cost base, we think if you digitize that, you could either leverage it or transform it. And then what are some sheltered businesses? Dry cleaning, guns and ammo, personal guns and ammo, not the Javelin missile. That's kind of leveraged. But, out in Western Mass, Smith & Wesson, Remington, that stuff, you go out there, it's not, those are pretty sheltered. Landscaping, dry cleaning, stuff like that. So anyway, it's a way to think about this whole domain in a way that gives you a category that's definable, that most people can understand. And I think if you're worried about where it might hit you, if you're an established business or you're an opportunity seeking person and you're saying, where could the opportunity be? I think it's in transforming those businesses, leveraging those businesses, or taking a latent business and making it leveraged or transformed. Let me just stop there. Paul, am I hitting on what I should hit on?
Yeah,
here?
that's great. Yeah. Questions for John? It's kind of a mini showcase here, but we can go 5 more minutes here and then we'll switch.
So I have a comment and a question. So the comment is John, have you seen the Accenture report that it came out a couple of weeks ago?
No.
I can put it in the chat here if it allows PDFs, but it's a couple of the slides in it you might find extremely useful. One of them is by industry, the other one's by job, but the gist of it is it breaks it into colors, those that are immediately affected by AI, those that have the potential, and those that are unlikely. So as an example, at the top of the list on the industry side, of course, is banking. Banking's kind of number 1, software is number 3, and so forth. At the bottom is going to be things like landscaping, construction, things that have low knowledge work. Anyway, there's a couple of slides in the report. You might like the report in its entirety. It's a very well done. Goldman Sachs, by the way, did some research about a month ago. This one I actually thought was a little bit more in depth, but it might match up to what you're saying with a lot more detail by industry and by job function.
Sure. Yeah.
So that's my comment. I'll provide it to you guys. The question I have is that in this WINS category,
Yes.
most of the work today is all language processing, NLP kind of stuff. I mean, major
Yes.
short term. You've included all different forms of digitized information. So
Yes.
have you thought about the timeline from which we'll do things like integration of business analytics, which is lots of data and mathematics and sciences, to augment a natural language side by side, or natural language on top of the combination of language and data?
So I'm sorry, can you say that last question again?
Yeah, I guess at the high level, the question is a timing one for each of the WINS. That's kind of what I'm asking.
Oh, I see. Yeah. I think that my guess would be, first of all, back in 94, 95, we made a bunch of predictions about the internet that seemed pretty clear. The one big thing we missed was social media, but we got a lot of the other things right. We wrote on exploiting the virtual value chain, shit like that. Anyway, stuff like that. Sorry. On this one, I think that the categories we talked about, I think, are now categories. And I think for those institutions that where you have a material impact on leveraged or transformed businesses, I think are now. In terms of which things are going to develop competitive moats and which things are going to go from latent to leveraged or transformed, I think those are have a lot to do with the maturity of the information value chain in the industry. You know what I mean? So a lot of like the information value chain in healthcare is terrible, right? So it'll be harder. But there's so much value add. I mean, the healthcare business is bigger than the economy of France, the healthcare US. So there's still huge pockets where you could have tremendous advances, even though they're islands of automation, if you will. So I think a lot of it is now, and I think that the speed of the evolution of the WINS work, because you go across different representations, words, numbers, images, and sounds, I think is going to be breathtaking. So I would say now for half the economy, and 2-3 years for 2/3 of the economy, something like that. Am I answering your question? Bob?
No, but let's hold off on it. I don't want to consume your flow of thoughts.
I want to keep going. Let's go to Aaron and Bill real quickly. Go ahead, Aaron.
Yeah, great. Thank you so much. So my question concerns, there's a enormous part of our economy in the US, but other economies also, but especially in the US, that's highly regulated. And the regulated, I mean, in essence, that regulation drives the operating model structurally, and it also drives the, we'll just call it the dominant, either monoscopy winners or the dominant players because of consolidation that's driven by that regulation. So as example being banking. So I'm wondering, when you say there's going to be all this disruption in banking, I don't think anybody's arguing that the 4 major or 5 largest of the 20 systemically, in essence, dominant financial institutions are going to be disintermediated, because there's not a desire.
By the way, I didn't put banking on here. I didn't say banking.
Okay.
Anyway,
But
anyway.
yeah, so I'm wondering, just from a regulatory perspective, given that so much, roughly maybe 60%, 65-70% of our economic system is in these highly regulated industries versus the less or almost no regulated industries, high tech, lots of parts of high tech, not maybe manufacturing, but software, consumer goods, retail, chunks of that, et cetera. And that tends to get the lion's share of the oxygen in the room. But these fully regulated industries, just keep moseying on, right? I mean, we've heard for 25 years the transformation in healthcare through 15 different technology initiatives, and they just keep eating the dragon, right? So I'm just wondering, how do you see these forecasts? Because people seem to be forecasting immediate change, matter of weeks and months, versus some of these industries operate in decade-long terms or longer. Example being farming, right? Farming operates around the 5-year farm bill. I mean, that's the structure. That's the regulatory structure of the industry, basically.
Absolutely. Yes, I think that the near-term effect won't be to change industry structure, but will be to change industry profitability. Okay. So right now, for example, at PwC, I think I'm okay to talk. Their regulatory bill for anti-money laundering for Citibank in the United States alone, they paid PwC $150 million a year just to discipline that, to give you an idea. Okay. It's crazy numbers, right? So I think that the near term is whoever adopts this more quickly is going to have better differential profitability, and then they're going to make a strategic decision: do they give that to the consumer and grab market share, or give it to their shareholders in profitability, right? So and I think that's the immediate term. Down at the bottom of the previous slide, and we will send this around, there's a model that I have in another paper I wrote called "How Do Old Industries Become Young Again?" And there are 5 factors that take a mature business to an immature business. So stuff like crypto, I always thought was marginal, because there's nothing structural happening in the industry to change any of the things that you were just talking about, Aaron. Right? Nothing. But there are 5 factors. There are number of equivalent competitors, significant regulation, deregulation, or re-regulation, core technologies of production changing, consumer habits changing, and channels of distribution changing. If 3 or more of those are happening at scale, a mature business becomes immature again. Okay. If that mature business becomes immature again, then you have an opportunity of true disruption. So there's a lot of baloney out there about disruption, but the relative profitability is a real thing today. Okay. That happens today. And that's what I'm talking about. The industry structure stuff takes longer, and people mistake, marginal things like crypto for fundamental change in the industry. And I think that's
I'll keep going. So John, thank you so much. So a lot of exciting work there. We'll have John back, but I think it's representative of where we're excited to bring some really good, new, fresh ideas to help everyone think through this. I mean, everyone from the investors, the board to the marketing managers and designers are coping with massive change and open questions.
Yes.
Did Liz, did I see you joined?
Can I just say to Bob, thank you for the references, and please, anybody who's got other references and so forth, you know, obviously this is super fast moving. Paul and I want to stay on top of it and don't want to reinvent anything. So thank you.
John, I sent the message privately to Paul, but see figures 3 and 4 in that study I sent. I think it's the background to my comments.
Thank you.
Great. And did I see Liz? Did you join, Liz? Maybe not. Great. So let's keep driving. So John, if you could stop sharing, and I'll start sharing. And then, so we want to, what we got here? I'm at 21 minutes. So I want to go back to ChatGPT, and we're going to start at kind of the really basic level and then go up pretty quickly here. We won't get to all the advanced stuff, but we will go up further than we have in the past. Folks who haven't seen all this stuff, you know, cognitive vertigo, that's where everyone is. And everyone's fighting up the learning curve. I say with high confidence now, I'm seeing it myself and executives and managers and everyone else in teams. So I certainly think we've got to continue to see this upskilling, this increased awareness that we've moved from unawareness to awareness to somewhat competence to understanding better what all these amazing tools can do. Let me skip through all this stuff. We haven't seen, these are the major types of AI. Generative AI goes through a cross of them. ChatGPT is only one type of text to text. Runway ML is text to video, which is stunning, and it's real today if you haven't seen it. And his thing, he also has video to video, which is also this intermodal thing, being able to put something that's in digital form and get something out, text to music or text to video or video to text. Actually, I haven't seen video text. Video to video is a really important generalized theme here. And it really reinforces how we're in inning 1, minute 1 of a transformation. Narrow, that's the Google generative AI. The tool can be used in multiple resources. That's what we're doing here. Let me skip through all this. People should know all these. That's fair. For people who don't know, ChatGPT is like intergalactically giant autocomplete. There's not logic that says go back if then. It's taken 1 trillion items, trillion pieces of information sucked in the internet, incredible amounts of advanced technology on the AI side. And based on what you put in your prompt or what goes in a search box, it's guessing what the right words are. It will make up citations. Win just forwarded to me a great one. People have seen in the New York Times where the lawyer did his brief 100% on ChatGPT. It was like 10 pages, had all these citations, and everything was wrong. And he had to go in court and mea culpa in front of the judge, and real big thank you, Win, for posting. It's in the chat. So, you know, buyer beware. And, you know, just because the answer is fast doesn't mean it's always correct. It's not connected to the internet, although you'll see browsing here, and I'll show you in a second here. Okay, let's skip all this. This is probably, we continue to look for visuals. This is my latest one where we're really seeing it's crunching time. So in the flawless AI, it's taking something that used to be 3 to 8 weeks to 1 week or 1 day, and it's taking the hours and from hundreds of hours to minutes in a lot of cases here. So let's do a couple prompts. So, one of the examples we go through is a whole series on billing. I call it but we use a use case where it's a new company doing coffee cups for left-handed people. We go from product market research all the way to creating it to the manufacturing. And people haven't seen, and these are some of the basic ones, we'll move up from here, is so many things pop up here. So if people haven't seen, this is a ChatGPT. I've got a dark background. Some people use light. GPT 3.5, that's the free version. That's faster. 4 is the one you pay. It's $20 a month. Advantages of the 4, it's you get access. I mean, the advantage of the paid is you get access to both the faster version, and you get front of the line, so you rarely have any impediments on actually getting on, and you get access to a lot of the new features. They've been particularly impressive in my view, coming out with new feature after new feature after new features here, and we're going to show you browsing and the plugin here in a second here. So big debate back and forth. Do you say do you need to say you're an expert in a certain area or not? I've been doing that. I know Sam Altman suggested doing that. I think the jury's still out. One product manager, OpenAI, is really trying to get to a point where you need to just talk to it like you do another human. So I don't walk to John and say, John, you are an expert in business theory. What do you think about this? But in some areas, it's really good. Rosemary, I don't think she's on, but she went through like 6 or 8 examples where she was specified that you were an expert in an area, and then the same example without it, and she did not find a material example here.
Paul,
Please.
just a quick comment on that. Andrej Karpathy, one of the original engineers at OpenAI, gave a fantastic pitch. It's quite technical at the Microsoft Build conference. I could post it if anyone's interested, but he talked about the expert comment. The gist of it is you're telling it to narrow its results. So in essence, it'll limit lots of possibilities. So it does act as an expert in the sense it's looking at probability of next word, and it'll eliminate things downstream. So you really have to think about what it is you're asking, because you don't always want to ask it to be an expert. Set the temperature at 0, in other words. So that's the trade-off you talked about.
Right, and that's a really good example of, at least in my mind, Bob, speaking more in normal language. Instead of say you're an expert, saying what prompt did I use up here? What are the top 5 attributes most important to left-handed coffee drinkers? Don't talk about environmental benefits. So you kind of put your intention, and then you add your limiting factors from that. So this is a simple one. Let me just do a couple tips. People haven't seen it. Whenever you put a prompt in there, you can always go back and edit it. So this is that little edit button here. And when you edit it, you can just come in here and let's say you want to do it, 8 things here and then resubmit. So that's one way, particularly if you get a really long prompt, you can start reworking it. I'm just going to stop generating for now, just to save time. Few other things, people, let me assume on the left are the different chat things here. You can also go back through and edit what you call this. So these things stay permanent, and it remembers the context within that chat, even when you close your browser and restart the computer. So maybe we'll call this, learning lab May 29th example. And if I come back after 3 weeks or a year, I can pick up exactly where this conversation left off, and it will remember the context up to that point. It doesn't remember between chats. So every time you start a new chat, you're kind of back to ground zero before you go forward here. So that's one example of market research. Here's one that people have seen, may have seen before, where outline a business plan for left-handed coffee cups. So here's our business plan. It cranks it out. And again, remember, it's 1,000 interns at your fingertips. So it's people quickly coming and bringing the clay back to the table. Humans need to do the last mile to get quality here. So now you can say convert to PowerPoint. Now it's not going to go to code yet. It's just going to convert it now to slides. And now you could then say, convert this to VBS code, a Visual Basic code, and then you can take that and import it into a Microsoft version of and actually at least get the things. I haven't then done the other thing that some people do is then take that and then go to like a Mid-Journey other and then get the visuals for each of the slides. But there's a whole host of tools out there for slides. I'm skipping the names. Tome is one of them. I think Beautify
Paul,
Slides, another one.
Hi, Paul, it's Adam. I was about to recommend Gamma.app. I'll put the link in. One of the things I like at Gamma for building slides is that it has a free-form text box where you can paste in all of your content that you got from ChatGPT and it'll build slides off your content.
That's great.
But that's AI driven, so I'll put the link in the chat.
Thank you, Adam. That's fabulous. And that right there is exactly what this group's about. People helping each other, correcting it. We're fighting up a massive learning curve, and this is a great way to continue to get smart. People haven't seen brainstorming. It's fabulous for brainstorming. You know, so expert creates 7 taglines for left-handed coffee cups. You know, shorten to 6 words or less. A lot of times you want to have content here. Do you want to bring to another application or a Word or something? So that's where this little clipboard is. You can take it like this, which is what we were all doing before this feature in. But when you post it, you don't always get sometimes you get formatting errors. So if you use the copy, it'll do like a paste as, so it's particularly good for that. If you've got numbers, you can just cut and paste and put it into Excel, and it'll keep the individual cell integrity for people who haven't seen that. These are kind of basics. Prompts we go through in a lot of the training here. Let's see here. A lot of things that, policy manuals, one, we're seeing a lot of companies create draft policy manuals. Performance reviews, let's say this is I had to do a performance review on one of the colleagues during our launch of our products. You write a performance review for Mary, emphasizing your dedication, product launch, detailed research, communication skills, whatever the assets are, and it'll crank it out. So this is a good example of putting in the bits and pieces of the content you want and then telling it what you want. So this was the attributes that I wanted in the content and I wanted in a performance review. Right, in Spanish, people haven't seen it's incredibly good and fast at language. I am told that in most of these languages, these are really good translations. Again, buyer beware, you need a final mile to have someone else, the final step, someone else needs to look at it, but it's a darn good first step. More advanced calls, people may have seen these things. One of the things you can do now, everything we've done before was like a little task and it did it better. Go brainstorm, go. Now the next level up is start doing things that's a little more cognitively challenging or iterative, back and forth. So here's an example. I want you to act as a purchasing agent as a large department store. So we're making left-handed cups. We sell them through places like Target. I will be the sales rep selling the cups. You will ask me questions to determine if you want to sell my product in a store. So we're instructing it to act as like the purchasing agent at Target. I want you to only reply as a purchasing agent. So that's a limiting condition. Do not write all your conversations at once. Do the interview with me, ask me questions, and wait for my answers. Now, tell me more about your product. New cup for left. And I won't go through here, and it'll increasingly get more sophisticated. So this is an example of taking a process and having an iterative. You can do this with job interviews. You can do it with, and one of the things that we're very interested on is how you start taking this to company specific data. So how can you take, 30 PDFs from a company and use this iterative thing back and forth for a training or a refresher course for new or current hires? Questions or thoughts, things I'm missing? Raise your hand.
Paul, a couple of minor features when you're talking about copy and paste. One is to the right of the prompt. You have that copy button that people can copy the results of a prompt right there. Yep.
Yep.
And another brand new one is over in the conversation itself. There's an up arrow. And basically what it's going to give you is a link that you can copy and paste, for example, into a note and then have it print out the entirety of the conversation.
Oh,
So,
hang on. I was doing the share. Which one are you doing?
yeah, that's it. It's a
Okay.
share, right? And you can have your name appear, copy link with or without your name. And then you can go, you can place it there.
Where do you want me to go?
Now just
you
put it
can
in the
do-
browser, Paul. Just put it in a new browser window, that link.
Yeah, that's a good way to do it. So there's the entirety of your conversation.
Yeah, and this one just came out about a week or so ago.
Yeah, so what I happen to use Evernote. I have 16,000 Evernotes and struggling to figure out how to get conversations into Evernote. So Rosemary has a newsletter she sends out, and basically it shows you how to export it to a HTML file or JSON file and so forth. And that's one way to do it. This is a simple way. This is another simple way where you could actually literally see the text as you've just posted.
Yeah. So thanks, Bob. It's another example of kind of, even more features that create the social aspect of these individual power users of it. We are really short on time. Let me at least get to one plugin, and then we'll talk about Code Interpreter and then open it up. So let me skip these other examples. So there's a whole, so this is our phone, we have app stores. There's a whole new thing with ChatGPT called plugins. And plugins are a way for new third-party, not new, but third-party, other companies to start creating added capabilities. So it's like the extensions you have on your Chrome or the apps you put into your Android or your phone. To get that, you have to have GPT-4. And then typically you have to go down into your settings. And I think you have to beta feature and actually turn them on. So that right now I've got access to the browser. I've got access to plugin. And one I'm really dying to get for is called Code Interpreter, which is now just slowly being rolled out. And then what this allows you to do is first you've got to go into Fort, say you want to use the plugins. And if I want to find plugins, I go to the plugin store. And last I looked, I think there was, I don't know, Adam, you may know, 350, 200, but there's increasingly more and more for lots of different applications.
Yeah, it seems like there's another 15 to 20 new plugins a day at this point.
It's
There's
just
a couple additional pages at 8 per page. Yeah, it's wild.
It's really stunning. And I think, just as an app store, people remember the app store, there was 100 and we were so excited there was 100, and 2 years later, there's a couple tens of thousands. So I think you'll see the same thing here. The one I want to show here is Ask PDF, your PDF. So this is a way to upload a PDF and then use the ChatGPT capabilities to kind of interrogate or have a conversation with that that particular product here. A couple different ways to get yours in. Adam, you actually may know a better way. I usually just go to the login. I forget. Usually it'll give me the link then. So yeah, so here it is. So you first go and this way you can go to this web page, then you upload your large PDF. So I have a PDF of Win, you'll appreciate this. Ancient Greek Philosophy is a 124-page PDF. It gives me a document ID for that. And then I come back to my, to my chat. So I want to be GPT-4. I've got the plugins here. What is this PDF about? And you'll notice it's indicating to me that's using a plugin to interrogate, I'm gonna keep saying interrogate, to analyze the PDF. It's come back and said, this appears to be a philosophical text, portion on Plato's Republic. Summarize. And now I'm using ChatGPT and narrowing in its capabilities just on this particular PDF. Adam, of others, others
Yeah,
PDF or
yeah. Paul, the second query, you think it used the plugin? Because it didn't do that spinning thing.
oh, that's a
I'm just curious.
no. Let's go back and check. You mean right
Yeah.
here?
Yeah. Is all this information from the PDF, or you think it used its general knowledge? Because it didn't do the spinning
it
stuff.
didn't. You're right. That's a good
Yeah.
question. Yeah.
So I think there's a little trick that you can use, which is called /start, ask your PDF, and then give it the
Okay.
query. Yeah, see, there you go.
Oh yeah. So I drag. So I just
Yeah.
corrected it using. You've got a shortcut.
Yeah. So the shortcut is at the start of your query, do /start and the name of the plugin. Yeah.
Right. So I actually type in ask.
Yeah. Whatever the name of the plugin is. Ask your PDF, and then it'll activate it.
Okay.
It'll activate.
Actually, hang on here.
Yeah, there you go.
Right here.
Yeah, you can remove that thing at the back. Yeah. There you go. That way you don't need your ID and all that stuff.
Yeah. Great. So everyone can see it. So we're so short of time here. So others,
Yeah.
so that's it. Hopefully concept. So there's a bunch of them out there. I haven't had nearly enough time to play with. Alden, do you have, which ones do you like, or Adam or others? Share with the group one or two that you really find actually useful.
To be honest, I haven't used the plugins as much because I'm working very hard to create a no-code plugin builder, which we should have out in the next couple of days.
Okay.
So anybody, school teachers, non-technical people, anybody will be able to create their own plugins.
Great. And for people who haven't known, last week, a couple weeks ago, we had Elizabeth Planet runs a nonprofit, uses Alden's product called a Custom GPT to create her own chat box for her nonprofit website using her, I don't know, 100 and 200 PDFs and owning it. So it was a great, less than $500, $1,000 type of way to get what a lot of people want is, I want the power of ChatGPT, but I want my own data and I want a little more control of what's actually being shown. So we're going to end in 2 minutes. Any other last minute contributions or?
Yeah, Paul, I threw it in the chat, but I recommend the Web Pilot plugin.
Okay, why? What does that do? What do you like?
As I put it there, it allows you to just paste a URL and then chat about the contents. I find it's really great. I'll get documentation, and then it'll just go read that URL, and then it can even crawl down into subdirectories or pages under it.
That's great.
When you use the web search, it has to go figure out what's relevant content.
Yeah.
So by giving it that little bit of upfront prompting and using the Web Pilot, it's much more effective.
I mean, Adam feels like it's a super powerful tool that initially we were all playing with its training data. Now we can upload a PDF, have it there, and you get a great example of taking a thing and now pointing it at a very specific website and now having this type of interaction with it.
Yeah.
Win, you got a question? Go ahead, Win.
So if it's okay, I'd like to just float my idea, and I've got a survey link to gather some interest about it. So I think this is fabulous, Paul, what you've been doing. I've been part of an online writing group that uses a forum with almost daily practice and a kind of feedback from peers and working together on it. And I think that's a fabulous model to try to give us practice and reflection and keeping up with a lot of this. And I'm thinking about trying to launch something like that. Finding out if there's interest in doing it. I've got a brief survey to collect email addresses and a few thoughts about it. If you're interested, please click on it and let me know. Feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn as well. So they just grab the link.
That's great. So when you put the link in the chat,
I'm going to.
okay. So the ask is everyone go to link and fill out a survey.
If you're interested in being part of an online AI learning community.
They're interested. They'll do it.
Thank
Thank you for
Paul.
filling out Wynn's survey. Thank you, Wynn. Yuri, we'll finish with you. Yuri, go ahead.
Okay, I hope this isn't a long question, but this has all been amazing. And I'm wondering if anyone in this forum understands or knows how some of these tools actually work. So I understand that in ChatGPT you can only put in so much context and then have it summarize it or whatever. But here you've uploaded a 100-something page PDF document. How is that plugin able to leverage ChatGPT to summarize such a gigantic document and then act upon? Does anyone know, kind of technically speaking, maybe not with too much detail?
Yeah,
how
I can
that
take
functions?
this. I can take this if you want, Paul.
Please go ahead.
Yeah. So basically, what's being returned is only like about 4,000 tokens. So even though the corpus might be 1 million big, when ChatGPT, when you do the query on ChatGPT, it's calling out to a server, the plugin server, and the plugin server is returning only about 4,000 tokens. So the book might be 100 MB long, but only 4,000 words or so are coming back.
Right, but how is it, what's the step that's taking that, 1,000,000-word book and turning it into the 4,000 words?
That's up to the plugin. So
So
whoever
that
is the
plugin is
ask,
doing it. Okay.
yeah. So whoever is the ask PDF guy in this case is returning back 4,000 words.
Okay. So they have to have their own effectively AI solution to turn that 1,000,000 into 4,000.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks, Olga.
So guys, sorry, we're going to be kind of close. So come back next week. I put in the chat, if you really want to go technical, by far the best technical, it's about 40 or 50 pages from Stefan Wolfram, who's just a stunningly sharp intellect on this, but it gives you a sense for how sophisticated this is. And let's keep learning, and we'll see everyone next week. Thank you all.
Right. Thanks, Paul.
Thank you, Paul.
Thank you.